Hey guys, Mark here with Sideline Power. This is our troubleshooting video. I'm going to go over a few common questions and issues with our end zone hardware kits, both wired and wireless. So I'm just going to jump right into it. First thing I'd like to go over is our pan tilt. We get a lot of questions about this. A few of the common issues with this would be the batteries. You want to make sure that all 4 of your AA batteries are put in correctly. If you have one of these flipped around, you're still going to get a green light. It's not going to be as bright, but it will still show up. So it'll look like it's on, but it won't have any functionality. It won't be able to move, anything like that. So always make sure that these are charged up and put in correctly. As long as you have that, then you switch the first switch to M for manual, and make sure your other switch is set at 340 degrees. You'll have the bright green light, and you should be good to go. Then the only thing you got to worry about is making sure that your pan tilt is plugged in. The cable here is plugged in. So on your receiver, just make sure it's plugged in. Give it a nice push, and you should be all set, ready to go. A few common issues we have with the camera. The biggest thing, you're going to want to make sure that your camera settings are set to the default. A lot of times if you mess around with the settings a little bit, you're going to screw up. You're not going to get video to your monitor, or something like that's not going to work. So if you're having issues like that, first thing you want to do is initialize back to the default settings. So you're going to go into the menu, down over to setup, and over to the general settings, and then down a couple to initialize. Go ahead and click initialize, and then you're gonna have to, it'll basically reset your camera. You're gonna have to enter some stuff, but then after that you should be good to go. Another thing to worry about is the SD card, which is found under this flap. You're gonna make sure that that one's put in correct. The SD card is put in all the way and straight. Sometimes it's easy to put it in crooked or not all the way. You're going to get issues if that's not put in correctly either. Another issue with the SD card is if it's filled up, there's no room, that'll cause issues. So you're going to want to oftentimes format your SD card, which is again in this menu, down over to setup, and then at the top is the media settings, and the second one down is format. You go ahead and do that, select OK, and that'll clear out your SD card and should resolve any issues you have there. A couple more things to worry about with your camera is making sure that your connections are in there sturdy. So here under this flap we have the HDMI, and we want to make sure that your HDMI is plugged in nice and snug in there. Should be pretty easy. Should be pretty easy to do, but this is a pretty fragile cable, so you want to make sure not to bend it, and always be careful plugging it in and unplugging it, because they will bend, and that's not covered under warranty. So if you do bend it, you're going to have to buy another one. But if it's not plugged in all the way, or again if it's crooked or bent, you're going to have video issues. You're not going to be able to see what the camera's seeing on your monitor. The other plug-in to worry about is on the other side, the multi-port plug-in under this flap. Same thing, another fragile plug-in. So you just want to make sure you're careful when plugging it in and unplugging it, because that will bend. Again, that's not covered under warranty. Make sure it's nice and snug in there. Don't bend it, wiggle it around or anything like that. But if you're not able to move, if you're not able to zoom in, zoom out, or record, that's your multi-port plug-in on the right side of the camera. And then the last thing would be the battery issues. This USB, you're going to want to make sure you have your power pack plugged into it. Power pack's right here. Just make sure this is plugged in. This is a pretty steady cable, so you're able to let it dangle. And this will give you 5+ hours of battery life, so no problem filming a full game, anything like that. One last thing, might seem like common sense, but we do have some coaches that mess it up. Make sure to flip this off to open up the screen on your lens. If that's closed, you're just going to see black, so keep that open. And that should be it. If you're having any more questions, feel free to give us a call, 800-496-4290. Alright, so moving on to the remote and the receiver for the wired hardware kit. I'll start with the remote. You really shouldn't be having too many issues with this. The biggest thing that you want to worry about is the battery, making sure that your battery is charged up before every game, before every practice, and then making sure that the USB is connected. If you got power, you'll have a big blue light that says you have power. Should be pretty simple. If this blue light's not on and you're plugged in all the way, your battery's probably dead. Other than that, not a whole lot to worry about with the remote. With the receiver, same thing. You're gonna remember to charge this battery at all times, so it's always fully charged, and then plugging it in with the USB, making sure that's connected right, and you'll have a blue light again. And then you'll have the two connections, your multi-port and your pan tilt. Make sure that those are snug. The multi-port goes on the right side of the camera under this flap. Again, careful plugging that in and unplugging it. It's a very fragile piece, not covered under warranty, so do not bend it. And then the pan tilt goes on the back here. It's a little more durable. You can push that on, make sure it's nice and snug. You shouldn't have any problems there. And that's really all you got to worry about with these two. As long as your batteries are charged up, you shouldn't have any issues with these. Alright, with the monitor, one thing you need to worry about is the battery. Make sure that the battery is put in correctly in the back here. The way you tell which way it goes in is there's two holes on the bottom that match up with the two little silver spiky things here. Just slide this in and slide it down. You'll feel it kind of connect, and then it won't be able to wiggle or anything like that. Then you just want to switch your power switch to on, and then on the front there's a power button. You shouldn't have to worry about it. It should start up right away. You're going to want to make sure this is set on HDMI and that none of these F buttons are pushed, F1, F2, F3, F4. If they're lit up, you're probably going to have color issues. Other than that, these dials, mess with the color, the saturation, stuff like that. Shouldn't have to mess with them. Should always have a good picture as long as you're on the HDMI. On the back, you'll notice two HDMI plugins here, an in and an out. You always want to use the in when coming from the camera. Make sure that that's plugged in nice and snug. You don't want to bend that. And the out is for if you have any Sideline replay products, you can use this HDMI out, and it'll be compatible with any of those replay products. Otherwise, you don't have to mess with any of these other ports. You don't have to worry about them. And that's all you need to worry about with the monitor. Alright, now let's talk about the wireless hardware kit. I'll start with the receiver here. Again, first thing you want to worry about is the battery. Make sure your battery is always charged up before every game. If you're having any issues, most likely it's something with the battery. It's not charged up all the way. And then just plug the USB in to the side here. You'll see a blue light turn on, means you have power. If you don't have a blue light, go charge your battery. Then you have a few connections here. You have your HDMI, your pan tilt, and your multi-port. Plug those in. Multi-port goes on the right side of the camera. This is a very fragile plug-in, so do not bend it. Be very careful plugging it in and unplugging it. HDMI is the same case. Goes on the left side, but it's very fragile, so be real careful when plugging it in. If you bend either one of those ports, they're not covered under warranty, so you'll have to pay for a replacement. And then the pan tilt goes on the back. This one's a little more heavy duty, so you can plug it in, make sure it's nice and snug. You should be good to go. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot of moving parts with this. Make sure the battery's charged up. You shouldn't have any issues. Now with the receiver, or with the remote for the wireless, not a whole lot of issues with this either. Biggest thing is the battery. You want to make sure that this battery's charged up and you put it on correctly. So there's two holes on the bottom. This goes on the bottom, matches up with these two spikes here. Put it in here and slide it down. You'll feel it kind of connect, and it's nice and snug, doesn't wiggle around, anything like that. Once you have that battery plugged in, you'll see the blue light on the remote. Last thing you need to do is plug it into the monitor, which is this cable right here. Plug it in, make sure that that's nice and snug, and then power button, and you'll have connection to your camera. And one last thing, to make sure you have the best connection between your receiver and your remote is to make sure that this antenna on top of the monitor is set at a 45-degree angle like you see here. If you mess with it too much, if it's straight up, if it's straight down, or if you touch it, you're going to lose a little bit of connection. So we don't want to mess with it too much. Make sure it's at a 45-degree angle. Otherwise, you shouldn't have any other issues. If you do, feel free to give us a call at any time.